Well, it looks like we've got a small group today, but that's all right. We'll still do this presentation and see if anybody has any questions. I'm going to go ahead and get started. And if people join us as they come, that's absolutely fine. Thanks for logging in and learning some more about what this summer is going to be like. I am Sarah. I'm the director up at UNLA, and Max is also joining us. He's our community liaison. And Max is actually going to start by just sharing a little bit about UNLA in general.
Yeah, hi everyone. I think probably most people here know a little bit about UNLA already, but I'll just give you a quick rundown. We are a wilderness backpacking summer camp located in the Trinity Alps in Northern California. We offer backpacking programs for kids ages 10 to 17. And we have financial aid available to families who need it. In previous years, we've run a big base camp program where the kids get to mix and get to know each other. And this year things will be different. And Sarah will tell you all about that in a minute. But we are really excited to be running programs this year. Even though there is a pandemic, we have some exciting plans to make sure we can get kids outside and backpacking. Yeah, I think that's everything I need to say. Sarah, do you want to take it over?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to unhighlight you. Yeah, so I'm just going to talk first just a little bit about, and actually, can I highlight myself is a good question. Max, can you spotlight me? Because for some reason I can't spotlight me. Thank you. So some things, as Max mentioned, this summer things are going to be a little different because of COVID-19. And the first thing that the main big thing that we're doing that's different is that all of our groups this summer are going to be in cohorts. So the groups that normally would be up at camp are going to be staying in their groups the whole time. There'll be 8 campers and 2 or 3 staff, and those 8 campers and 2 or 3 staff will spend the entire session together. And depending what program they're in, there'll be different things that they do. But if they're in the base camp program, they're going to move through the day together. They'll be doing their meals together like they always do, but then they'll be going to activities together, and they'll be going to the waterfront as a group. So there'll be a lot more group bonding time. The trail programs were already pretty in cohorts, but they're just going to be ever so more like that. Anytime they do spend in the basin, they'll still be in their cohorts. And we're also going to have a whole lot more of those trail programs. That's the other big change, is in order to ease this cohort system and to provide more space between all of our cohorts, we're greatly expanding the number of trail programs that we're running this summer. So what we've got going for this summer is we have 3 sessions. The first 2 are 15 days long. The third one is 10 days long. In each of those sessions, there are going to be 5 base camp cohorts that are available. Those programs are designed for younger campers, mostly 10 to 12, or campers that don't have backpacking experience or have very limited backpacking experience is what the base camp programs are for. And then as well, there's going to be a number of different trail programs for varying different abilities. We've got the hiking and wild programs, which are actually only during our 2nd and 3rd sessions. Those are a great choice for a camper that has some backpacking experience, but not a whole lot. They get the opportunity to come into the basin to prepare for a day before they go out on the trip. We've also, the next program we have is the Summit to Summit Extra program, which is a program that leaves on their backpacking trips right from arrival at Scott Mountain Summit. But during their trip, they're going to get to come back to base camp for one night only and like have a hot shower and get some exciting food and get to have a little bit of the basin magic. They'll be in our base camp when the base camp cohorts are out on the trail so that we keep maintaining our distancing between our cohorts. And then lastly, we will have our Summit to Summit program, which we always do, which is a program that actually just backpacks the entire time. They never come into our base camp, which is how it normally runs. So the Summit to Summit program is going to be very much like normal as far as scheduling and how it fits into our general programming. And within all of those programs, we're going to do a lot of things to try and minimize the spread of COVID-19, which I'm going to briefly summarize some of the major things that we're doing. Before I get into just my summary, I want to say, first of all, that we have in-depth draft procedures that we put together, which are available on our website. If you'd like to go read the whole thing, we would love for you to go and read the whole thing. We're all about being transparent with our families through this, about what our plans are. We're very open to feedback, and we're also want to be really clear that these things might change. We're still waiting for guidance from the state on what the rules for overnight camps are. Last summer, they kept saying that they were going to release them, and then they never did, and they still haven't. And we, as well with a lot of other summer camps, are out there advocating at the state level to try and get those guidelines released so that we know what rules we have to operate under for summer 2021. But we haven't gotten them yet. And so we want to be very clear that, that these procedures may change because of government regulation, but also as we learn more about the virus and as the science evolves, we may update these procedures. And we want to be in as constant of contact and communication as we can with our campers and our families to let them know what we're thinking and how things proceed. But I just want to highlight some of the really important things that we're going to be doing this summer in order to keep everyone safe. The safety of our campers and our staff, and also their families, and everyone just involved is the number one priority. It's what's most important to us. So we're taking all of this very seriously. The first thing is that the most important thing we can do this summer to keep camp safe is to have everyone arrive at camp healthy. If we don't bring COVID into camp, then we can't spread it. So prior to attending, we're going to be asking everybody who's going to be coming, both staff and campers, to observe recommendations for physical distancing and minimizing the spread of COVID-19 before they come. We'll send you out more details on what that looks like, as well as some guides to help you keep safe before you come to camp. We're also going to ask people in the 2 weeks before they come to camp to be self-monitoring for symptoms and checking their temperatures. Again, making sure nobody is coming to camp sick. As well, we're going to be asking campers and staff to obtain a negative COVID-19 test before coming. We're hoping that we're going to make that within 72 hours, although we may modify that depending on what the average test result times of tests coming back are at the time. But we're optimistic that as we get towards summer, that testing will continue to ramp up and that testing will be widely available and actually quite quick turnaround. If any staff member or camper has tested positive, or has come into contact with somebody who has tested positive, then we're going to ask them not to come that session until they've completed a quarantine period. And just in general, this summer, if somebody's feeling sort of sick, we're going to ask them not to come to camp. Hopefully, if that's a camper, we can reschedule them maybe for another session, or certainly we can get them into the next year if it's not possible. But we're going to be asking both campers and staff, if they're just feeling sick at all, to play it safe and to not come to camp for that session. Because like I said, the best thing we can do is to all be healthy when we arrive. Some other really important pieces are, when it comes to transportation this summer, we are not going to be providing our normal bus transportation as we normally do. And we're highly encouraging anyone that can drop their kid off at camp to drop their kid off at camp. By far, the safest way to get to UNLA this summer is for someone from a camper's household to bring them to camp. Number one safest way. And so if it's all possible, we're highly encouraging campers to do that. We do, however, recognize that getting to camp is a serious barrier for many families getting there, and we're dedicated to making sure that the campers that is a barrier for still have access to the wilderness. We recognize now more than ever how important being able to get into outdoor spaces and being able to have camp is, and so we're dedicated to figuring out how we can transport those campers to camp. So if you or you know a camper that does need transportation, there's a place on the application to state that, and we are going to work with individual families to work out potted transportation, so they're only with their group members to camp, which should help keep us safe in the transportation area. As well, at camp, we've got a number of communicable disease control practices that we're going to be implementing. Like Ari talked about, we're going to be doing cohorting. We're also going to be encouraging physical distancing in all aspects of camp whenever we can. We're fortunate. We have a really big space. Both our basin is big and the wilderness is really big, so it's easy to be 6 feet apart most of the time. There's also certain situations which we're going to be asking both staff and campers to wear face coverings. It's not going to be all the time that we're camp. We're still writing out the detailed list of which activities facial coverings are going to be required with and which ones they're not. And this also may change as more science comes out. Some things, though, that we know for sure: you're not going to have to wear a facial covering when you're swimming. You're not going to have to wear a facial covering when you're backpacking. Clearly, you're not going to have to wear a facial covering when you're eating or sleeping. Not possible. And you're not going to have to wear a facial covering in a scenario where you're clearly 6 feet away from another person. Absolutely. Other times that we know we are going to require facial coverings are when going into a restroom that is a building, if you need medical care, when going to see the nurse, during food preparation, and those might be the ones that we've determined. Oh, and if needed, if you're being transported in a vehicle for some reason, then facial coverings are definitely going to be required during all of those activities. Obviously, that's not an extensive list of all the things we do at UNLA. And like I said, we're still working with our medical group to determine which activities facial coverings are going to be required with and which ones they're not. As well, we're going to be doing enhanced personal and hand hygiene. There's going to be so much hand soap and so much hand sanitizer. It's going to be really fun. We're going to be doing enhanced sanitation of our restrooms and showers, as well as frequently touched objects and shared equipment. We're also going to be prioritizing giving people their own equipment if possible. And then also we are going to be doing ongoing monitoring and screening, both symptom checking, daily symptom checking, and if available, we may do arrival testing of our campers when they get there. Another thing to note, we have a in-depth procedure for what we'll do if there's a suspected case of COVID and what we'll do if there's a confirmed case of COVID. And again, I invite you to go to our resources page, which Max put into the chat, which has a link to our full procedures, and you can read our full procedures on what our plans are if we do have a confirmed COVID case. But just really briefly, important to know is that in the case that we do have a confirmed case, we have testing available, we'll test everybody, but as well, we are going to ask that all participants of the group be picked up and go home, both the person who has tested positive and any other members of their cohort, just to stay on the safe side. Camp is not long enough for us to meaningfully quarantine at camp. By the time you were done with your quarantine, it would be over. So we're going to be asking all members of a group that has a confirmed case in it to be picked up by a contact to go home. And so, yeah, so that's, like I said, that's my brief summary of some of our plans that we have around COVID this summer. Again, many, many more pages of that are available in our full procedures. But I would like to open it up now to questions. We have a small enough group here that if people just want to use a raise a hand feature to ask a question, we can unmute that way, or if it's easier for you to type into the chat, you can do it that way and I'll answer.
Hi, I have a question.
Yeah.
My name is Kira, and I was wondering how long these sessions are for the camp.
Yeah, great question. Our first session is 15 days long. Our second session is also 15 days long, but our third session is 10 days long.
Okay. And then if I were to apply to help out, like become a counselor, would I be required to stay for all of them, or do I pick one?
Yeah, so this summer we are requiring all of our staff to commit to working all of our camper sessions. We're planning to create a sort of staff bubble, so to speak, up at camp. We're going to be treating our 2-week staff training program, which is prior to our first session, as a staff quarantine period, where we're going to be actually in cohorts at the beginning of it, and we're going to be requiring pretty stringent procedures in order to make sure we're not spreading to each other during that quarantine period. And then we're going to be asking staff to stay on site through our sessions to help not bring any any virus in.
Okay, cool. Also, if from the beginning of like staff training until the end, do you know how long that would be?
Our staff training is going to be 2 weeks long.
And then with the final day of camp.
Yeah. Sure. The entire season is from June 12th through August 15th. So that's just over 9 weeks, I think, is how that lays out. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Great. Thank you for your questions.
Yes. I might have some more, but I'll come back to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Max, why don't you put up our contact information right now? And if you have any questions about staffing, just because we were just talking about that, hiring, I'm the person to contact for that. If you have questions about financial aid, Max is the best person to reach out about that. If you have questions about COVID procedures, I probably am the best one on that. Max knows a lot of them, but I suppose I know more. If you have questions about enrollment, I'm maybe a better choice on enrollment questions. Anyway, here's our contact information. Clearly, if you reach out to one of us about a question that's better for the other person, we're going to direct you to the better person too. So you reach out to either of us. We're happy to take an email or get on a call if that makes more sense. Any other questions out there?
Yes.
Go for it.
Sorry. If you, let's say I wanted to help out as a counselor, but I couldn't stay the entire summer, could I start in the beginning and just leave early?
The answer is probably no. It depends a little bit on what our final enrollment looks like in our final sessions. If I need some staff members that can only work for part of the summer, then that might be possible. But I don't know what our final enrollment is yet, so I can't answer that question in a, what is that? Definitively, that's the word I'm looking for. Any other questions out there?
Oh, yes. So with the cohort, how big is the cohort most likely going to be?
Cohorts are going to be 8 campers and 2 or 3 staff members, depending on the program.
Okay. And then you're going to stay with them for the whole time or just most of the time?
And they will stay, the cohorts will stay together the whole entire time. Staff members have time off, so they're not like literally with the kids the entire time, you know what I mean? But the same staff members will stay with the same kids throughout the entire session.
Okay, thank you.
And looks like there was another question here from Jackie to clarify so this was not for CITs. So we do have a counselor in training program, which is during our first session. It's actually currently full. And that commitment is just 2 weeks, which is June 26th through July 11th. There's a wait list though that people are welcome to get on. But counselors in training are not required to commit to June 12th through August 14th. That's just for full staff members. I hope that answered the question.
Hi, Sarah.
Hey, yes, I see you.
Hi, this is Jim. And
Hi, Jim.
hi, Max. Is this going to be, recording of this is going to be available? Because I have a couple of people that I would really recommend being counselors. And so I hope that they be able to see this.
Yeah, absolutely. We are recording this, and Max is going to post it on our website sometime in the next probably week. So this will be available as well. If you want to, Jim, direct anybody that's a potential staff member to our website, there's actually under the menu under staff, there's a page that says apply to be a staff member at UNLA, and I've actually posted about 3-minute video which is specifically for staff, which explains some of the most important things staff need to know for the summer. And so not that the recording of this meeting is a bad thing for them to watch, but I actually have a short 3-minute video on there that is specifically for staff. And I can actually put into the chat right now for you the link to that page that I'm talking about. Oh, thank you, Max.
Okay, good. All right, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Great. Then I guess if we don't have any other questions out there, I don't see anything in the chat. Don't see any more hands, I don't think. Then yeah, thank you for all of you that attended. I hope that this was helpful, and I hope that I see you or someone you know at UNLA this summer. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Goodbye.